What's going on, my fellow farmer brothers and sisters? All right, so today we're gonna give this little little big 450 diesel a tune-up, and I got something to show you guys that apparently is a misconception on changing these spark plugs out in this thing. So stay tuned. Alright, so there's a misconception about these engines that people say that the only way to replace the spark plugs in these diesels is to pull the manifold off. Not true. You can get the number 1 and the number 4 with a 7/8 socket and a swivel. Very easily. You can get up beside there, you can get number 1, number 4 out easily. Now, number 2 and number 3, different story. Easiest way to get those out, obviously you can't get a wrench in there. You can see how tight that is. Take yourself a spark plug socket that has that hole right there. I'm trying to do this with one hand, so let me show you guys on the ground. You put yourself a drift pin in the hole. If I can do this with one hand. Put a drift pin in the hole of the socket. Make yourself a little short wrench. You can get the socket up inside there, take the drift pin and use that to loosen that spark plug up. Once you get it loose enough, pull that drift pin out, grab the socket, give it a turn. Number 2 and number 3 comes right out, as you see. Nice shiny new, I think these are the D89D Champions, the original spark plugs. Expensive little boogers. I think I paid 70 bucks for a set of these. But anyway, I shouldn't have to replace these again in my lifetime of owning this tractor. But you can replace these spark plugs without pulling this intake manifold off. So a lot of people say that you can't get to them unless you do that. Wrong, you can. You just got to make sure you have the proper tools and think outside the box. And yes, it can work. So I went ahead and I tuned it, put the spark plugs in, put the cap, put the rotor on there. And put some new spark plug wires, because the ones that went there, whew, they were bad. Here, I'll show you. Let me sit this in here. I'm starting to run out of room on the bench. That was the old wires and all in there. I mean, they were pretty bad. So there's the original plugs that came out of it. Not too bad. These right here, a hair sewed it up. This one right here had almost no gap to it. The gap was damn near closed. You can see where it was actually starting to burn into the side of the electrode on there. But for the most part, they weren't awful, but they were wide. These gaps were probably about, I don't know, I think close to 50 thousandths when I checked these. So I went ahead and I threw the new plugs in there, new wires, new cap and rotor. The coil itself, I mean, it's coil. The points actually didn't look too bad, so I just went ahead and sanded those down a hair. But you know, the plate and everything inside there was cracked, nothing major, but it was missing the like the washer that goes on there, the big washer that keeps the dust and stuff out. So I replaced that as well. And then today, really all I'm doing is, besides tuning this thing up, I am gonna go ahead and pull the brakes off, at least on the other side, for time being. Take a look at it and find out if it's either oil soaked or if they're just that worn, why the the tractor doesn't stop very well. And then I'm trying to think, what else am I doing today? Oh yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the filter out, clean the screen, because you can replace them if you want to. Again, they're expensive, but a lot of times you can also take them out and clean them. If they got a little gook, a lot of stuff on them, that will actually cause your hydraulics to fall, and that's what this one does. They just slowly, after about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, it starts going down, and after about a week or better, they're all the way down. So usually it's just a dirty screen. I don't see a ton of leaks in the O-rings, but I haven't gotten up here far enough to take a look. So once I pull these side covers off, I'll check that out. But we're gonna do the filter today first. Hopefully I get the brakes working, which I should, and get the falling hydraulics. They work, but they just fall over time. And other than that, for now, this thing is tuned and ready to rock and roll and start doing some work. I'm going to get that front loader on here. So anyway, oh yeah, the other thing is I'm going to end up buying a new shaft for the brake pedals and the clutch, because this is the one that has a lot of play in it. It's kind of, it's a little worse than the other 450. You can see here, that shaft is done for. Usually the arms aren't too bad. Usually it's always the shaft. So I'm going to head and order one of these. Again, that's like 70 bucks for one of these, but I'm going to head and drive this out. Not today, but I'm going to drive this out and replace that pin. I'll do a video on that when I do that. But we're going to go ahead and pull this brake cover off and see what we got going on inside there. So stay tuned. I'll be back after I get this thing off. Alright, so the good news is there's no seals or anything blown, so she's not oil soaked, so that's good. But let's just say we're definitely ready for some brake pads. So I got those. I'm going to have to wire wheel the spline itself for the, I don't know what they call that, like a bull gear pinion shaft, I think they call it. But anyway, I'm going to have to clean that up so I can get that disc off of there. And then here's the issue with the brakes on this side. So all the springs that actually are supposed to be here is broken, and over here in between the brakes. Well, that right there is numero uno on the brakes not working because they're not expanding. You know, it's got dirt in there, which is common, especially when the rubber boots off the front. It's going to collect a lot of dirt inside of it. Since this is the lower half, dirt will go in, collect, sitting there. But you can see right there, that's one of the issues. So, I'm going to take this thing, clean it up really good on the inside. We're going to get to use an angle grinder, clean up the surfaces where the pads actually meet. We're going to put new bearings, new springs, and clean all this shit up. So I guess I will. It's kind of hard today to do the filming. I got a few people over here, so I'm going to try to do the best I can without having a lot of interruptions. But this video may just be kind of like a here and there kind of video, but I'll try to do what I can. But anyway, so there's the issue right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start disassembling this thing and see what it looks like inside. Maybe I'll set up on the table when that air compressor gets finished, and I'll do this on the table taking this apart. Alright, so I got the shafts, the disc brake cover and the spline, and I got all that cleaned up out there, so I'll take you out there and show that in a minute. But right now I got the actuator in here, and when you pull the actuator arm, this is supposed to turn, but as you see, she's pretty froze, and most likely the bearings froze up and that spring bearing broke, got it locked up. So what we're going to do is pull this cotter pin out right here, drop this clevis pin, separate the two halves, clean all this up really good, get all this rust, all this junk out of here, and then we're going to put in all new bearings after I clean everything up, put all new springs in, and put the boots on the front like it's supposed to be to keep all that crap out of it. So all in all, everything came out pretty good. The pads, disc brake pads, aren't awful, but they got a glaze to them. So with everything being frozen, and these are worn down to almost nothing, so definitely a good candidate to have the brakes done. Now I did have a set of brake pads off of, I think, the utility. They actually weren't bad. They're almost like new. So I just cleaned them up a little bit, and these are what we're going to put on there. So I'm going to go ahead and break this out and get this thing apart and see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and pop out the cotter pin, which most likely is going to break because they usually do, especially when they're in this condition. I'd be surprised if it doesn't break. So what I'm going to do is grab a hammer and tap her on through. Surprised it didn't break. I'm going to replace it with a new one anyway, so it don't matter. Let's see, I'm going to use that to tap on. Oh yeah, she's stuck in there good. No, it's coming out, but she's stuck. every so often you're going to hear that compressor kick on. These springs are rusted really heavy. Oh, you know, yeah, got some stone frame. It's kind of hard to do this while on camera so that way you can see what I'm doing. Basically, I'm lifting these old springs off of here. Alright, let's get this puppy apart, see what she looks like. Alright, so yeah, so the balls are rusted, which is typical. But not bad. I can clean all of this up really nicely. Alright, so I'm going to throw this in the sandblast cabinet. I'm going to sandblast these two halves, clean these up a little bit, and just put this thing back together. They're not in bad shape, but I'm going to replace them because I don't want to put the old ones back on there. And obviously, this spring is a no-brainer. That's done for. So it's always a good idea when you do your pads, just clean these up and make sure that you just get the new bearings and get the new springs. It's like I said, cheap insurance. Now make sure you get the proper balls. These are 7/8 balls. Don't go with a different size. Don't go with a smaller size. They're not that expensive just to replace them. So, alright, let me go ahead and throw this in the sandblast cabinet and I'll be back. Alright, so I figured let me give a quick show on how this works without any springs, any bearings, or anything in there. One thing a lot of people overlook also, you have these 3 points here that when you actually pull the brake, the actuator, it actually goes back and forth in those areas. So make sure that when you do these, I'm going to go ahead and sand these, give these a nice surface. I'm going to put a little graphite on these 3 tabs as well. Now, I don't have any springs in here, so the bottom one's not going to move. So when you actually pull the arm and that slides back and forth, it actually has a nice surface right here for this to slide on. So, like I said, this is just mocked up temporarily, all sandblasted. Everything's sandblasted nice. And you also want to look for cracks. These will crack on the inside between where the areas of the balls go. You want to make sure there's no cracks in these, because if there is, then that's an area to fail. Let me see if I can get this out of here real quick with one hand. Alright, let me set this here. So I went ahead and I cleaned the surface up here, and I'm going to clean this up just a little bit more, but I got all the grime out of here. I went ahead and I sanded this surface all through here, and like I said, now I'm going to hit these 3 points right here, that ride right there. But like I said, all in all, these cleaned up very well. Let me see if I can do it over here. Again, trying to do this with one hand. Like I said, everything cleaned up good. And like I said, you want to look for stress cracks anywhere between these areas, because they actually will crack. The 300 utility actually had some cracks in it. So I'm going to have to replace the actuators on those. But, so what I'm going to do now is, these sockets don't look too bad. But again, I'm going to go ahead and go in there and I'm going to clean these sockets out real nice with a little piece of sandpaper. Make this area real nice and smooth. Every so often, like areas through here, you have this little step right here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clean that little step up right there, and then clean out again the area where this sits. And I may take the Dremel. A lot of times I'll take and go inside here and I'll actually clean this out, make this area real nice and super smooth. And that way, dirty bearing, that bearing is nice and smooth for when it does its ride back and forth. You just want to make sure there's no areas where it's actually going to catch and hang up. So let's go ahead and set back up in the stand, and let's clean these areas up here, these areas, and then we're about ready to go ahead and put this back together, except for one more thing. I'm going to go outside, take my angle grinder, and I'm going to go around these surfaces here as well, and just to give this a nice surface, because again, that pad rides against that area right there. Like that. So they will actually move, and that helps lock those brakes in place. So it doesn't hurt to give these a nice surface. If you leave them kind of rough, they're just going to eat up your new pads. So it only takes a minute. So, all right, let's go ahead and set back up. All right, so it's going to get noisy when that compressor kicks on. So I'm going to show how I clean these edges up. Just an 80 grit inside there, just enough to rough it up some. And we're going to go on around. Alright, so every so often I'll throw this in reverse, and that way it goes opposite of those bristles, and it makes it a little rougher, so that way it goes ahead and eats up any of the heavy rust that's sitting on it. Like this one's got a little bit extra on there versus these. Cleaned up pretty nice. So I'm going to get this one just a little bit better, and then we should be good. If it stops spinning on me. Alright, let's go back and forward. Okay, that's not too bad. Alright, they're cleaned up good. I might take the Dremel and go inside there real easy with a stone and just get that little ridge off of there. Alright, I am definitely running out of room here. Alright, let me hit pause, let me get my Dremel set up. Okay, so what I got is I got a little flat wheel sander. It's 120 grit. That's on the Dremel, and I'm going to use that to go inside here now. Alright, and that should do it for that. So now, the drum itself, again, it's not a restoration. I'm just doing a brake job on this. So this is actually ready to rock and roll. I'm going to set this off to the side. I already went ahead and I sanded down the surface as well right here where the brake pad sits. I'm going to use that same Dremel, and we're going to do those pockets real fast for those balls. So let me get this out of the way. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and clean this area up. Okay, so with using the 120 grit flap wheel on the Dremel, you're not sanding this to take out material. You're only sanding it like that to polish it. And again, try to do everything, but this area here is the most important because you want this nice and smooth. You take your finger, run the side there, and if you feel no lips, no resistance right there, then you know that the new ball, the new ball will roll with no resistance whatsoever. So you can see how nice that is right there. So I'm going to repeat that step on the other 9 and go ahead and get this done. So I'll be back after I get them all done. Okay, so the one's all done. So as you see, nice clean sockets. A lot of people actually overlook this part when it comes to these actuators, but I'll tell you, it makes a night and day difference inside those sockets. Now, like I said, you're not sanding it to take material out. I'm using that 120, only because of the fact that it gives a polish, takes out that little burr on these lips right here, and then the 7/8 ball goes in there with that graphite. Makes, like I said, way noticeable difference, actually making this thing slide. So you can see the difference there. So this actuator here is pretty much done and ready to put back together. So now I'm going to get this other one done. Alright, one more to do, and this thing is ready to roll. Alright, this guy on unpackage one of the new ones. And here's the part number for these. These, I think these might have came from yesterday's tractor. I don't remember, it's been a while. There's the part number for the 7/8 ball that you want. And like I said, there's no graphite or anything there, but when you put it in there now, I mean, look at that. She runs so smooth inside there now. At least now I know when I put that on there, everything's going to be good. So just going to unpackage a couple more. Like I said, you set that on there. Nice and smooth. So once you put that on there, they're not lined up. I have to resituate them, but you can see right there. That is super smooth. There's like no grit, no anything. So that's what you want. Like I said, I know a lot of people overlook that right there, but I'll tell you, if you're reusing these old actuators, I mean, think of it as doing like a brake job on a car. You don't want to just replace your pads or your drum brakes. You want to clean up everything so everything kind of works together. And initially, you're doing the same thing on the tractor. Granted, it only moves a little bit, but since it is only moving a little bit, stuff like this makes a world of difference. So, all right, let's go and get some graphite, put it down the side here, get these springs back on, get this thing locked back together, and put it in. And this side will be ready to put back on the tractor. And then it's just adjusting your brakes from that point. And then I got to do the whole thing again to the other side. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's get some graphite. All right, so what I'm going to use is anti-seize, because you can actually use anti-seize for, you know, a lot of brake parts. A lot of people don't realize that. This needs mixed up really good. This has been sitting on the shelf for a while, so everything came to the surface. Okay. Just a little bit. You just want to put enough just to coat it. And then drop them on in. I think I have enough on my fingers. Should be able to coat the last two. Okay, now it's time to clean the fingers. Put this thing together. The springs are probably the worst part of this whole job, locking those back in place. Alright, let's drop this back on there. Which way did that go? Right there. Like that and like that. Put this back in there. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little anti-seize on here as well. And you know what? I'm going to put a little bit on both ends of here. Back on the table. Oh shit, I gotta put the clothes in there. Doy. Good lord. A little ahead of myself here. Put it on this side. Oh, get in there. There we go. Alright. And now I got the shit off my hands again. Put that in there, and I'm gonna have to bend that around. Then we get to put the springs in. Where did I put my needle nose at? Oh, there we are. Okay. Look at that. So smooth. Oh, now the part I hate when these springs on. These things are a real pain. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to attempt to see if I can pull these up and on. As I say, they have some tension to them. I know there's an easier way, I just can't remember what the easier way was to get these on. I think you can go up from the back and try to slide them in place. No. You know what? Maybe it was a screwdriver trick. All I do is about to stab myself. I know somebody out there who's got this down pat is probably laughing at me. Well, it's all good. They are tight, buddy. See if I can get a front one in. Oh, almost. There we go. That's money. Alright, so I'll do it that way. Bring it around to me. Have one there. So I'm going to keep pulling it off. Okay, that one looks so easy. Oh, it's so close. Oh my god, that hurts. I want to go back to this one. See if I can get that on there. You know what? I'm going to go from the front. I find that may be easier. Almost. Oh, it's so close. Let me get another pair of pliers. Sorry, I thought I hit record on that one right there. Alright, so let's try it this way. Make it a little easier. I'm going to put those there. Put that there. Grab from the front. Take another trout needle nose. Push up. Use the tension. Up, over, boom. That made it way easier. And other than that, yeah, she's got some good spring tension now. Look at that. Wonder if I can hold that back so I can actuate it. There we go. Nice. She got some good tension to her. Better tension when I put that spring on all the way. Alright, there we go. It's smooth. Alright, and that is one actuator. I got the camera zoomed out. Hold on a second. There we go, let's try that. One actuator, ready to go back on the tractor. Pretty easy. So it's not that much to it. Like I said, extra graphite between all the moving parts and everything just to make sure you don't rust up again. And like I said, we're going to stick the boots on this time in the front to keep all that grime out of there, because I don't want to have to clean all that dirt out again. So, I mean, some's going to get in there. You know, it's going to be what it's going to be. It's a tractor. So, but, alright. I guess let's walk on out and I'll show you what I got going on out there. Alright, so the assembly's ready to go back on. So like I said, I cleaned up around there, cleaned up on that full pinion shaft a little bit, cleaned up that surface as well. I'm not getting any oil leaks, so that's good. So this side, I don't have a seal leak, which is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. Now, I think I might have mentioned this. Let me get rid of my old cigar. I might have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. Excuse me. Make sure you get the right bolts in the right place. There is one bolt that is a hair shorter than the rest of them. This one right here. I'm going to show you where that one goes. It's either this hole or this hole, but I'll show you once I get the drum back on there. And make sure you get that in right, because if you put it in the wrong spot, that particular one won't bottom out. So you want to make sure you get it in the right spot. So let me see if I can set this up. You guys can see me put this assembly back together. Okay, so I had a little moment there. I apparently thought that the extra brake pads that I had on the shelf was for the 450, and unfortunately they were for the 300. I think I may have mentioned that, but I can't remember because I thought these were extra 450 pads. But anyway, the shaft is bigger, so the pads are bigger. So unfortunately, I have to go ahead and reuse the old ones for now. So basically the rest of this video is just going to be just for the fact of putting it together, showing where these bolts go that I was talking about, and that's going to be it for the brakes. I mean, yes, they will stop with these pads. Yeah, I mean, I just cleaned them up a little bit, so the tractor will stop, but I wanted new ones on there. So since I have to order some anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put these on just to finalize this video over here, and then I'm going to order the new pads. We're going to do the other side, and then we'll do a hydraulics on another day. So let's go ahead and see if that goes back on there pretty nice. Nicer. Okay, so we're back on, and then we're going to go ahead and reassemble this thing. Apparently I should have cleaned up the area where I'm working here. Let me go grab a broom and clean this area up a little bit. Alright, I'm all cleaned up. Not that it matters to you guys. Let's just say there was quite a bit here that I was kneeling in. That's pretty much everything that I got out of the brake housing and around it. So you see quite a bit inside there. Alright, so anyway, so that's the one. That obviously will stop much better now, set up that way. And right now I'm just getting the parts together. I'm going to throw a little anti-seize on these areas, and I'm going to show you what areas they are in 1 second here. Alright, now it's over my fingers once again. Okay, that's all inside there. Alright, I'll show you what I just did. Alright, so I went ahead and I put the anti-seize on those contact points that I was talking about right there. So, let me set this actuator on in there. Right now, I'm laying in the brake pad. And now I'm sitting in the actuator. Okay, like that. So everything is in. Okay, let me see if I can now do this. Not dropping everything. So what I'm trying to do is trying to get that disc brake pad in there lined up. Once I get her lined up, I can spin this in place. There we go. Now I'm going to rotate this down right there, and I'm going to grab one of the longer bolts and go ahead and get that started. Grab another longer bolt, get that started. Now there's your short bolt, here's your long bolts. There you go. You see the height difference? There's your short bolt. Short bolt goes back here where this little relief is. Okay, and then I can put the rest of these in. And now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. I'm just going to snug them until they're all in. Now I tighten it up. Now I kind of do it the same way I do it like car drums, car lugs, same way. I do a star pattern. Just to make sure they're even. And now I'm just checking them. That's it. Now I got to go clean this up a little bit real fast, put some anti-seize on here, and then we're going to go ahead and screw this back in and get this thing ready to roll. And then I'm not going to adjust the brakes today. I'm only going to go back down to where they were originally set. Only because the fact that I got to pull this back off. So let me run in on the wire wheel and go clean this up. Okay, so like I said, this will be for like demonstration purposes per se. Because the fact if I could have kicked those other pads. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and let's get this set up on there. And I'll just get it on and then I'll pull that up into place. I can't do this with gloves. I don't know why I'm trying. I mean, I don't think there should be much difference between the 450s and 350s for these, but hey, you never know. Get on the bottom side first, and let's see if I can stretch it on there. Almost. Oh my god, that popped off the bottom. Alright, let me try to hold that in place, get my finger under here. Get on there. I think it's actually, looks like it's all on. Let's get this, there we go. Alright, the boot's on, and that is straight, so we're ready to rock and roll. Put a little anti-seize on here. So, put a little anti-seize on the threads. It's because of the fact that it gets so much water and moisture in there. Well, at least to the front of it now. I ain't going to get none on the inside anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit around the ball right here that sits into the brake armature. And like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and snug it right back up to where those lock nuts originally were set. That to pop on through. There. And there. And there. Alright. Now I'm going to pull that off. Not really. Alright, so it's set back where it was. Wipe that boot off. And after that, it's just going to be checking. Obviously, I can't pull this, it's clutch pedal, but now it's going to be checking the brake and seeing if everything works the way it's supposed to. Put all the springs back on, and if I had the right brake pads on there, then this would be done. But it's not, so it is what it is. But I'll take care of that in the next video. But right now, that's how you go ahead and you take care of one of these brake assemblies. Like I said, don't do it quick, don't do it cheap. Take your time, polish all those little sockets where all those balls go in, put the new springs on. Take an 80 grit on an angle grinder or something, clean up the surfaces where those pads lie. Make sure you use anti-seize, light mount on all the balls, contact points, your threads. Make sure you get that short bolt in the right place. And other than that, that's pretty much it for the brakes. It's not really that hard. Like I said, you just take your time, and that's about it. So anyway, so that's it for this video. Unfortunately, since I don't have the pads to do the other side, I'm not even going to bother breaking it down right now. But I will be doing the next video on that brake. Might be a little quicker since I did go through it on this one. And then we're going to go ahead and pop the filter out of the hydraulics and put some new fluid in there. And I guess to be the test of time and see if that thing falls. Like I said, unless you got a blown seal somewhere, usually that's the issue. I don't see areas where any of those O-rings on any of those blocks in there are bad where they're dripping. I'll know better when I pull these covers off, but I don't see anything from here. So I think it's just a dirty screen. So most likely that's what it is. Anyway, make sure you guys hit that notification bell, like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, thanks for watching.